So board members, we are going to go to item 18. Item 18, on this item, in accordance with Government Code Section 87105 of the Political Reform Act, Board Member Kaiser, Superintendent Deasy, General Counsel David Holmquist have disqualifying interest in the form of stock holdings or income from the stock holdings in Apple Inc. They will step out of the room until the board's discussion and action on this item have concluded. Item 18. So, as they leave, board members, this is the contract authorization for Common Core Technology Project Plan. I want to have someone move it, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Lamotte. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Galatzan. I'm going to call on speakers first. Ms. King, is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Do we need to wait?
Oh, this is the one I read. From the school. Yeah.
Welcome, ma'am. Speaker number 1.
Thank you. My name is Robin Hines, and I am Senior Director of Government Affairs for Microsoft. At Microsoft, we believe that education is the single most important investment in the future of individuals, communities, nations, and the world. That it is vital to sustainable social and economic success. We applaud the district's bold goal to provide devices to all students and teachers within LAUSD, and we come to this meeting today in the spirit of partnership for success. As a partner with HP and Ari Jones offering the Pearson's Common Core content, Microsoft is disappointed to learn that the district staff is recommending that only Apple iPad devices be utilized in the pilot phase of the Common Core technology project. There are several factors the board may want to consider in this decision and a few questions you might ask. First, single vendor award. I am concerned that a one-size-fits-all approach may limit the options and accessibility for the diverse requirements of the student and teacher population. LAUSD supports both platforms today. Why wouldn't you continue to support both platforms for Phase 1? What advantages or disadvantages do you see to a dual platform? Second, total cost of ownership. Microsoft environments have demonstrated the lowest overall total cost of ownership in the enterprise environment, like LAUSD. Was total cost of ownership considered in this staff recommendation? Third, rapidly evolving technology. Tablet technology from multiple vendors is expected to grow by over 58% in the next year with dynamic price reductions. Access to these fast-changing options would benefit LAUSD. Will LAUSD forego incredible acquisition cost reductions by locking in a single device at this time? Fourth, college career readiness. 95% of global companies use Microsoft Windows to support their business. LAUSD students need to be prepared for this environment. Was digital literacy and workforce readiness a consideration of this project? If yes, why would you limit your choice to a consumer device? In closing, on behalf of Microsoft Corporation, I encourage you to consider the benefits of a dual award of the Common Core Technology Project by directing the negotiation of 2 contracts. This would maximize options available for the important pilot phase and for future phases. We are excited about the possibilities of this project, and we are committed to working with the school board to ensure project success. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Warren Fletcher. I'm an LAUSD English teacher temporarily on leave to serve as UTLA president. UTLA calls upon the Board of Education to delay approval of this $30 million contract, this $30 million item. Multi-million-dollar contracts should be thoughtfully entered into. Those contracts should be well thought out to assure that the district and its students get the best possible value, both economically, and educationally. The LA Times has spoken recently, in the last year, many times on this issue. Last November, the Times characterized the district's iPad purchase plans as, quote, a headlong rush to spend and as, quote, evidence of bureaucrats pushing pet projects. We teachers support technology in the classroom, but this must be part of a larger discussion about spending priorities. A $30 million contract is the equivalent of bringing back 352 lost teachers, librarians, counselors, student mental health professionals, etc. The first priority of this board must be to keep the promise of Proposition 30 and restore classrooms. We must repair first. The argument will be made that the Common Core state standards are coming. Well, the LA Times, you don't hear UTLA quoting the Times that often, but we're with them today. The Times has also spoken on that subject, accurately and clearly talking about the dangers of poorly planned spending on Common Core implementation, and I think the best phrase that the LA Times used was early spending followed by buyer's remorse. Before we promote, and I would use that verb clearly, before we promote the implementation of a not fully baked spending plan, we must promote fully staffing our schools and giving kids the human services in those classrooms that they deserve. I am sorry that the entire complement of the board and the superintendent are not here to hear from UTLA on this subject. Because as we move forward into Common Core state standards, our decisions must be based on neutral criteria. They must be based on the best interests of the students, and at no point should anyone's interests, whether they're in conflict or not, go before the needs of children. Thank you.
Next speaker? No more speakers? Fascinating. Okay. Board members, you'd like to hear from staff first? Okay. You'd like to hear from staff. Steve? Okay. All right. Richard, we'll start with you.
I don't know who I'm asking it to. Mr. Hovatter? Thank you, sir. So this is, and I'm going to ask a series of questions. I'll wait for the response because I tend to ask them all at once and then we don't get them. Not that you're at fault. Mark, this is to procure with Apple at a not to exceed amount of $30 million. My understanding is at a later time, you can then decide to move forward and then it becomes a ratification. Is that correct?
Right now, the board has authorized us to enter into a project for the Common Core technology, and it's limited to phase one, and that's the total approval. This would be the contract by which we could procure the devices for that. Should the board elect to authorize a further procurement, then we would not go out and recompete again. We would continue on with this existing contract. And by board voting to approve a phase two, would also, the board would be voting to approve the amendment of the contract.
Okay, so that means automatically we would then move to another Apple rather than maybe have several devices, right?
That's correct. This process was to select the device that we believe most appropriate for the entire program.
Even though this is just phase one, and what happens if we don't like this product?
We certainly have every option of not ordering additional ones, and then at that point we would go out for an additional requirement or additional request for proposals if we weren't satisfied with the performance.
So in essence today is we vote for the 30 million, which we originally authorized 50, that this, we're deciding right now for Apple forever unless there's a major issue, right?
We're deciding for Apple for phase one, and if phase two is approved, then Apple would be the the vendor that we would be recommending with Phase 2.
Okay, so it's Apple, I got it. See, because I'd like to see a variety of instruments, because this is a tool, not an end-all. Is there a scope of work for
Dr.
the...
V, we've got two more people over here who came up to help him answer.
Oh, sure.
Any other questions?
Might pertain to either instruction or the project management from last year, also here.
I couldn't see you, so that's good. Is there a scope of work for the 30 million? A written scope that we could read?
Yes, there is. And you'd mentioned the 50 million and the 30 million. 50 million was the total project. 30 million was the amount dedicated towards the devices.
I
There are
got
other
you.
expenses that are associated with that.
So there is a scope because, because of the cone of silence, I didn't want to ask questions.
Yes, there is. It was well published within the RFQ.
Yeah,
and we
but
can make sure it's
I'd
within the
like to
RFP.
see that
We
now
can.
if I can. Exactly what work from Phase 1 will this contract cover? He's going to answer this one then, right?
So Jaime Aquino, Deputy Superintendent of Instruction. So the contract, Dr. Vladovic, will cover the deployment of all the devices for Phase 1, which includes 47 schools, about 30,000 students, about 1,500 staff. In addition to that, it includes a very comprehensive program of training on how to use the device. So we have mapped out in the scope of work, which we will get to you, is very specific in terms of the number of training, technical training, both for trainers that are, and our administrators that they will receive throughout the Phase 1.
I saw an original plan back when that said there would be an off-norm position assigned to every school. That's not the case now.
That's not the case here. There will be, I think it's 14 readiness facilitators, 14? So there are 14 readiness facilitator that will work very closely with the 47 schools and all the technical issues and training.
So there'll be about 2 to 1. So when we expand district-wide, then that could be about 300 people we're going to hire, right?
Yes, so that 14 is in Phase 1. When we go to Phase 2 and Phase 3, we're going to go up to 200, I believe it's the number, about 200 and readiness facilitator. Those, Dr. Vladovic, we're talking about LAUSD employees. Part of the contract also assigned from Apple and the subcontractor full-time staff from their organization that will also going to support the implementation.
Will they be record-carrying teachers?
For the
Yeah,
facilitators?
the 14.
No.
So they won't? And
No.
later on up to 200.
Yeah.
Will these devices come with books that will support the instruction?
So the devices come with a full digital interactive curriculum aligned to the Common Core in English language arts and mathematics, kindergarten to 12th grade, as well as additional software, educational software that comes.
So there won't be books?
So the curriculum is the new curriculum, like a book in terms of language arts and in mathematics. In addition to that, we own the digital rights of some of our textbooks, so they will be uploaded as well in those, in the devices.
So it will come with some types of books?
Yeah, it will come with a new digital interactive curriculum, which is not like a PDF version. It's much more digital interactive in ELA and math for K to 12.
Does this include all the accessories that make it accessible to students?
Yes,
So it does?
yes.
Now, here's my next one, probably for Mark. Has the price been finalized for each of the units?
We are in final negotiations, and we have finalized the price for this.
Well, my question is, why am I voting when I don't know how much they cost? Because I'm just asking, because I went to Best Buy to price some devices, and my gosh, the variance in price, and they all seem to do the same thing, was incredible. But you're asking us to vote when the price hasn't been finalized.
We have finalized that price, and I can't tell you now. We were negotiating up until this morning. It's $678 per device.
So-
this is a fully loaded, including all of the software and every other element, including the warranties. Which, by the way, was the lowest price that was offered for the proposals
That was
we
my
had.
question.
My last two, really, is there something in the contract, because I know we lose about 5% of our books, and these are electronic devices, and trust me, kids are going to spill water, and you know what that does, and kids are going to drop them, because I drop mine all the time, and I've had to replace it twice now. So I just need to know, are they going to be replaced by the company? That's part of the contract.
One of our provisions and one of our evaluation factors was how we replace devices that are going to be stolen, damaged, non-functional.
And so they'll
And we do
replace
have
them
provisions to replace the 5%
at no
that we
cost?
anticipate. That's correct.
At no cost.
No cost for the 5% of the total amount we purchase.
I got you. And anything, if our exposure or our breakage or whatever loss ratio goes beyond 5, we pay it.
That's correct.
I see. And what is the guarantee on these things?
The guarantee is that they will...
No, the guarantee for how long these
Oh,
things...
it's a 3-year warranty.
Because I know devices after a couple years are
That's correct. Our warranty is for 3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
And they'll service them, or are we going to service them with the 14 people?
It would be their requirement.
So we'd
And-
send them out to be replaced.
Right. That's
So
correct.
you'll buy more for each school,
That's correct.
for kids.
Okay,
Okay,
and
that's
we will
all
have
I
them
have.
on stock and on hand so we could immediately issue them. There wouldn't be a send out and wait till it comes back.
My only real concern is the price hasn't been finalized, and I haven't seen the scope of the first
Okay.
phase, and I'd sure like to read that, because I'm being asked to expend not 30 million, but up to 400 million later on. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I need to see what I'm buying. And I have not even seen the latest one you're buying right now. I went to Best Buy to go look at them, and you said something like $600. I saw them at Best Buy cheaper. Now, I may be wrong, a lot cheaper, and I don't know.
you-
Because I was trying to shop around like you guys did.
You certainly can get them for less money, but they wouldn't met all the requirements that we had. Everyone who met the requirements that we had provided pricing. This was the lowest price of everyone who met our strenuous requirements.
That met our standards.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, Mr. Zimmer, are there questions, Mr. Moore?
Steve is fine. Would you like to go first? I'd like to start with Dr. Kino, but please stay close, Mr. Hovetter. Dr. Kino, when we talk about the technology divide, and I don't want to, or the technology gap, I don't want to rehash a lot of the conversations that have taken place already, but when our LAUSD students graduate college and career ready, and we're looking at this trajectory, I will say, to the benefit of those in the audience, from SRLDP through graduation. We really do have as our goal college and career ready. So students who attend private schools, students who attend a lot of our charter schools, what is their access to technology, generally speaking?
Well, obviously.
Generally speaking.
Generally
I mean, you
speaking,
can't
pretty
make
high.
assumptions.
Pretty high in terms
Compared to our LAUSD students?
Compared to our LAUSD, absolutely. And you should know that now the SAT is moving to presenting the test online, so will the ACT. So in 2015, all these tests would be online, which will encourage most of the schools throughout the nation, particularly the private schools.
Would you say that one-to-one technology access at this point is a threshold issue in terms of access to information and things like that, right, in the era that we're living in right now?
Absolutely.
As a matter of
Absolutely.
conviction, this is a threshold issue.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that. The balance of my questions will be very technical. I don't want to assume that you don't have that technical knowledge, but I will ask Mr. Hoback. Actually, Dr. Kino, I do need you to say for this one. I'm very concerned about secondary. And we've all seen the commercial or the YouTube thing. I mean, for our early grades, I'm very convinced that the touchscreen, the Apple product, is a phenomenal learning device. I am concerned as we move into the resources that our secondary students need, that without a, stylus, keyboard, things like that, and without the full composite of the word processing and all the things that are needed at that level, do you have concerns?
No.
Please tell me why.
No. So, and, we have 6 schools, high schools for the future. So Valley Academy of Arts and Science, you remember Debbie McIntyre, the principal, spoke to you at one of our board meetings. So they have been implementing the project with no keyboards. However, so the kids are been able to actually cope with the built-in keyboard that comes in the device. However, part of our project will be to supply keyboard. And stylus, they won't need stylus in the smarter balance assessment until
But
probably.
they will need keyboards at some point, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's your, okay.
Yes,
And that's
yes.
going to be an additional expense, or that's going to be somehow in the package?
It would be an additional expense.
Okay. But we are in the realm of our conversation is how we're dealing with those secondary issues in terms of full access to the
Sure.
full.
And as I said,
spectrum.
in the 6 schools, we have not seen any difficulty in the kids managing the built-in keyboard.
I suspect they have no difficulty whatsoever. I'm just concerned about the access to the full spectrum of technological resources, both in terms of work product. But you feel like that's being figured out amongst
Yes.
us? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So Mr. Hovar, I mean, the issue around kind of comparing devices and why we wouldn't want to make sure that we were kind of using this as a compare contrast, which devices work, better, worse. Can you talk to that a little bit? What was it?
Before Mr. Hobetter, let me talk instructionally why that has a huge instructional implication for us.
Sure.
So, in terms of having multiple devices in our schools, with our mobility rate, both for our students and teachers, that means that they have to then learn 2 platforms. They move from one school to another within one single year. Kids and teachers will have to learn 2 platforms. Also, all the data, student work that will be collected will be transferred from year to year in an electronic portfolio. So also that piece of transferring. The capacity of professional.
Hold on for a second. So portfolio assessment will now be able to be done electronically?
See, so every year, kindergarten, all their work will be housed, and it will continue with them until they graduate, and they will have a digital
So multiple
record.
measures of a student's growth and
Multiple
success are going to
measures.
be able to be done with fully electronically?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Interesting.
So having students move from one school to another with different devices and different platform will be a tremendous challenge for the kids to navigate that. For the teachers, our capacity in terms of professional development of having to train makes it really, really complicated. You should also know it, Mark can talk about this because it was a very rigorous process, selection process. When we had the final 3, we actually tested the devices with kids in classrooms and teachers to see which of the devices the students were much more comfortable, at ease, that there were less glitches, and the teachers as well. And the one that we're recommending, Apple, received the highest scoring by the students and the teachers where we tested.
I appreciate that. Mr. Hovar, I'm concerned about that we're not, in phase 2, we're not opening it up again. And, I understand that if there's significant problems, we would open it up again. But what I'm figuring out about technology is that by the time we get to phase 2 is 2 years from now, 3 years from now, how long ago? How long?
6 months from now.
Never mind. But if we experience problems in the next 6 months,
Certainly, and if I can just add, this wasn't something that we went into lightly. 6 months ago, we began preparing for this. There were over 30 staff members, some of the best minds in LAUSD, that got together and established the criteria by which we would evaluate, and then we went out and evaluated to that criteria. But this was a decision. It wasn't that we're still trying to figure out who is best for the school district. We've done that through a very rigorous process.
Okay.
When I briefed the selection panel members, I told them that this was one of the most important procurements we were going to do at this district, and that it took precedence over all duties, including the duty to sleep. They spent a lot of time and effort making sure this was. So it's not like we're picking this hoping that it works out okay. We've done a lot of research, a lot of evaluation, and we believe that our selection represents the best representation, the best solution for our students.
Okay. That's the first time I've heard of a procurement demand against sleep, but I will take that as a note of your urgency and rigor. The professional development, is it going to be just how to use the device, or will it be on the Common Core implementation?
Both. So the majority of the funding that is as part of the 30 or the 50 million will be focused on using the device. As you know, there's the possibility with the $1.25 billion for Common Core implementation. That would also allow us to do much more in terms of training around the curriculum. So we have been training last week, and I see Dr. Tanberg from my curriculum and instruction. Last week we trained about 3,000 teachers on the Common Core. So we will continue, my team will continue in terms of integrating the technology into the teaching.
But what Apple is providing to us with this, contract that's as big as they come, are you satisfied that they are providing we have gotten the maximum resources out of Apple that is possible for professional development?
Absolutely. I would tell you that as part of the scope of the contract, there will be about 14 or 15 fully assigned staff member full-time to LAUSD for training for phase one. We're also even in conversation with them of the possibility of doing detached service, so where they hire some of our teachers so that we build our capacity, so that when the contract ends at 3 years, we have built a capacity of the cadre of our own folks, and they have been very agreeable to doing that.
And their highest duty is to get our students and our teachers prepared for this implementation. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Higher than the duty to sleep.
Okay. We made it very clear yesterday. We spent the whole day with them yesterday. We made it very clear.
So to the both of you, this is one of the most high-profile contracts this board will ever approve. I understand that there's been very, very considerable attention given to the highest form of integrity and above-boardness of this process. Can both of you attest today that you are absolutely comfortable moving forward, that we have followed all legal guidelines, and we have had a completely rock-solid, airtight procurement process on this?
With absolutely no doubt. I am actually in awe on how we have done this process. I commend Mark and his team, my team on the instruction to serve as the panel. This has gone beyond my expectation in terms of the level of integrity and ethics. I think the guiding principle that drove everybody was what is in the best interest of our kids. So I can attest to that. I can sleep tonight after you vote this contract. I can sleep tonight with my conscience very clear that we did the right thing for our kids.
Okay, don't go far.
Just a few questions from some people here. If you have to go to 2-phase, if the first loading doesn't work, how are we going to do that, and how expensive will it be to have to go to another company for the loading 2 if that occurs, if it just isn't convenient. Mr. Hill, you haven't answered anything. Answer my question.
I'd be glad to. So through this process, we've, as Mr. Hovetter said, that we went through a very rigorous process to make sure we had the highest quality. Also, in the terms of our contract, there is going to be a penalty if that performance doesn't live up to our highest quality.
Contract on,
A contract with Apple is based on a
Okay.
performance contract. Mr. Hovetter can provide more details. So that's the main reason why we're selecting one vendor. We're getting vast volume discounts by choosing one vendor on this, and we do believe, based on price and quality, it is the best option. And Mr. Zimmer, I just want to, the reason Mr. Chandler and I stood up here as well is you see there's 4 executive sponsors on this project. So it's led by instruction, but procurement, facilities, IT, as well as superintendent's office. We all support this, and we all believe that this is the highest standard and a world-class project that we've done so far, and we all stand by the integrity of this project.
and he has a little boy who dances better than he does, okay?
Well, I'm learning from him. I'm learning.
Another question, don't leave yet. Will independent charter schools get these devices?
Yes, and that's a good opportunity to clarify in the funding for this. There was a misquote earlier saying that this could be used for counselors or teachers, and this is bond dollars. So, but since we're using bond dollars, it's facility related. It's not operational. The reason I clarify that is any facility that we operate in that we're rolling this out, whether it's a district school or charter school in that facility, they will get the equipment. So they will get these tablets as well. So if it's a co-located charter school, they will get that, the devices. If it's a conversion charter school that's on district property, they'll get it. So we are using bond dollars, not general fund dollars.
Okay, and I guess that answers the next question. This is from one of the schools, and it says, will we be able to use the tablets with programs that we already have in our school? This is a school with a very high percentage of African American and EL students, and she wants to use some of the programs she has in the tablet, so that's not possible?
Yeah, Ms. Lamotte, that question that came up, I had a conference call with the 47 principals last week to start in thinking if this contract was approved to the planning stages, and that question came up with some of the principal. The answer to that is yes, as long as they are compatible to the platform and the programs that they describe to me, like STMav, all these programs are compatible with the iPad. So absolutely, and we will work, our team will work in making sure that those programs are uploaded.
Unloaded?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Zimmer.
Me. The last question that I have is, this is a 3-year warranty. We would hope the devices last more than 3 years, okay? But 2 major questions come up. How much are we on the hook for after those 3 years? And what's our plan for that? And then, I know this is down the line, but it is something that I do really believe that has not been part of the conversation that I want us to think about, is if the devices don't have that much use after 3, 4, or 5 years, we are potentially creating one of the biggest e-waste situations probably historically in a long time. Now, I mean, again, I back this. I'm not going to stop this, but is that somewhere in the equation? Because, I mean, we have as we're expanding this exponentially, we have an obligation to think through what's going to happen.
And we have a new friend.
So I'll talk about the second part and then let my colleagues talk about the other. But in terms of the use, whether this is actually going to be used, part of our program is, our plan is to ensure that this is being used on a daily basis for instruction. But in addition to that, beginning in August of 2014, the ELA curriculum, mathematics curriculum, will be delivered through the iPad. That's the curriculum that I spoke from K to 12. So you can guarantee that for English language art and mathematics every single day in every single grade, they're going to have to be using the tablet for instruction. So, but we're also going to be working with the other content area. But yes, we do anticipate that they're going to be highly used. The 47 principals, when I asked them, what is the feedback that you're getting from your teachers? Said the teachers are so excited. They're so excited The parents are excited. They are waiting anxiously for this. So they're waiting to make sure that they are they have them so they can begin using them. And the other piece in the warranty.
John Starrett, Office of Environmental Health and Safety. The tablet program will fall in line with our e-waste program and protocols. Our mission to be the greenest district in America, we're going to continue to pursue that. We've got protocols and vendors in place to address any e-waste that's generated from this program.
Excellent, thank you.
Ms. Galatzan.
You know, I've thought long and hard about this, and we've had 45,000 conversations about it, and I'm happy that one of my schools is one of the ones piloting this right now, and we've gone through some growing pains, and I know there will be more. And I'm also very happy that we're doing this in phases so we can work bugs out and see what's working and what's not working. And what just keeps coming back to me is that proverb about the perfect being the enemy of the good. Is that there is probably not a perfect device out there that will meet the needs of kindergartners and 12th graders and people doing, typing up reports and doing math and science and art and all sorts of different, all of the vast array of needs that we had in this district. We picked a device that's not perfect, but I don't think there is one out there that is. But this is an amazing adventure that we're about to embark on, that really the whole country is looking at what we're doing. So hopefully we're making the right choice, but I just want us to understand nothing is perfect here, but we made the best choice, hopefully based on all the information that was out there. This was the device that our staff, our students rated highly. It was the one that was the least expensive. And hopefully we're in for a very fruitful relationship here.
So my questions are, help me understand when people are very passionate about all of us being successful at our school district, meeting student achievement goals, and they just deeply believe that we have to have multiple devices or else somehow we are missing out on the industry, whatever is better in the industry, learning in the district, providing choice inside of this effort. What's the response of why it was your best thinking to go with one vendor?
So I'll just echo again.
And tell me, when did that happen? Because I'm told initially we started asking for multiple vendors, and then we...
Yeah, so the whole process, we had over 13 applicants for this process. We had 30 individuals that spent around the clock, and that is not a joke. Looking at the product, we had students, we had teachers. So as we went through that, we looked at it through the lens of an elementary school student and teacher, a middle school, a high school. So we had every single stakeholder look at this, technology, legal. So we had all of the best thinking in this district at the table, looking at all the devices. And we talked about that. Should we have multiple different devices for grade spans or different schools or geographic? And when you looked at the bottom, we looked at the highest quality device at each of those levels, and Apple came out on top. And when we got that, and that also gave us the benefit of getting cost reduction. So through that cost reduction, when we look at it, we are confident at this time, nothing's perfect, but this is the best solution that was provided at LAUSD. And we had over 13 applications that we reviewed, 400 pages of each of the RFP responses that we had. And so when we look at that, we know we can roll out the best product for our students, and that's why we drove this process, was what was the best for our students or our teachers at this time, and this is the product. We'll continue to look at what other districts are doing. There's products out there. We're going to continue to look what's on the marketplace, but that's going to evolve over time. But right now, for this initiative, this is the best product.
In addition to that, President Garcia, I think when the review process was going through, the issue of equity came up. Because when we realized that there was a product that was far superior and less expensive, if we went to multiple, we would be saying somebody had to decide that some schools and some students were going to get the one that the panel and all these experts felt was far superior at a less price, and other students were going to get one that the panel felt was inferior. And that would have been a very difficult decision that certainly I wasn't going to make. I wasn't going to tell a school, this is the one you're going to get, and this is the other one you're going to get. So when it realized that it's far superior in terms of the rating, the use by all stakeholders, and significantly less in price. Those determinations were crucial in the decision making.
Okay, I have two more questions, but since you're here, so one concern is that we didn't call out anything special for English learners. And there's 29% of them, we need a differentiation. How do we respond?
So that's not true. So the RFP was very clearly that the proposers will get optional. It was optional if they had programs that support English language learner, students with disability, or struggling learners. So we looked at that. And in reviewing the content, we wanted to make sure that both the needs of special ed, so we had teams from special ed reviewing them, and experts from English language learner. So a lot in the content has a lot of components such as translation, different languages, voiceover, materials can be read to the students.
But in terms of the instructional content, so that's what the machine could do? What could the content do?
So the content in itself, in terms of the ELA and mathematics, has specific strategy for both populations of English language learner and students with IEP in terms of how to modify, differentiate the lessons.
Okay. And then lastly, so we're going to have some people who need to learn how to use the device,
Yes.
and some people who will need to learn how to use the curriculum.
Yeah.
Yes? And so what is our plan? Is the number that you're telling us the 625, or what is it, Mark? 643?
648.
Minus the keyboard?
678.
678. Does that include professional development on both pieces or just one?
On both pieces. On both pieces, plus additional training that the district is currently doing on Common Core, which is really linked because it's a Common Core.
So certainly, I like to move faster than we can usually move, but for those who would say you should really wait, what's the response?
We should really wait? Well, I actually was one of those that was with you, that I wanted to go faster. I wanted to go faster because there's a sense of urgency in getting our kids ready for when they have to take these online assessment. But I actually, in retrospect, think that going in phases will allow us, now that we are in the weeds of all the details, learn from phase one how to make sure that all the glitches are corrected before we go into phase two. But it is a very ambitious timeline. So we're talking about in a matter of a year or 14 months, all students will have access to the technology and the curriculum.
That's good, because I only have one school in the pilot. Anyone else?
Madam Chair, may I ask, in addition to what you said about going faster and faster,
It's true.
we know some teachers go slower and slower technologically. So how are we going to help those teachers so that we don't hold the kids back?
So I'm happy to announce, and I think she's here, that we have Bernadette Lucas. Bernadette, if you can stand. Bernadette Lucas has been assigned and selected as the director of Common Core
So is she
Technology.
faster and faster or
She is,
slower? and
but the reason I'm introducing her, she's our new director beginning July 1st, the Common Core Technology Project. She's still as the sitting principal of Melrose, where for the last 3 years, she has led a one-on-one.
You're the one who told me you got a promotion. Huh?
a one-on-one device, and Ms. Lucas bring an incredible wealth of experience. As I spoke to some of her teachers when I was there, some of the teachers began very resistant and with very little knowledge of technology. And if you go and see in a matter of 3 years what they're possibly able to do with their students. So we're going to rely on this incredible
So you're able to
expertise.
help teachers who just don't like it, because I have some friends who just will not use it.
Yes,
And you'll be able to sell them so that they can help the boys and girls.
I feel that we will be able to.
And how long does she have to do that? 3 years?
So, friends, just last one. So should we find that we were wrong, this didn't work, you would be able to interrupt the phase two and start again?
Will we be able to interrupt phase two?
Well, I mean, before you go into the second purchase, if we're
Oh.
wrong, If indeed
before
something better
going to-
comes forward.
Before
say
going to phase two.
If San
Oh,
Jose
yes.
takes another
Yes.
vendor and they're better than
Yes.
what we're doing, we can,
Yes.
if it's something
Yes.
better out there, we can go
Yes,
forward.
but my goal is to make it work.
Amen. Okay.
Make it work for our
so,
kids.
And the whole team agrees. I saw a few folks stand up here, but that's a lot of leadership. You all agree that this is the way we should go to help kids.
Absolutely.
Ms. King? Yeah.
Yes, and I just want to thank the team for doing an amazing job. And some of our teammates that didn't stand up, in addition to OEHS, we also had representation from PCSB and also the Office of General Counsel. And so the entire executive team was really engaged and involved in this. Truly support this 100% and believe this is the way to go for our kids. And our 47 schools are waiting to go. They are very excited. They're really jumping at the bit, probably all tuned in watching to see, because they really want to hit the ground running in August to ensure that their kids are able to access the devices so they can get ready to go. So we are excited. We are committed as a united team to ensuring that this works for all the kids of LAUSD.
1997, the board said we would build schools to end overcrowding. I think I'm going to ask for the vote right now. We're asking our kids to be included in the digital revolution. Board members, item has been moved and seconded. Question? Oh, go ahead.
One last question from me. These coordinators that we're going to be hiring, the 14 now and several later, what is their funding base?
It's bond funding. It's part of the same program. So that's the discrepancy between the $50 million in phase one and the $30 million we're asking for today. Part of that $20 million difference is to pay for the facilitators. So tech facilitators, this project team like Bernadette, as well as we'll call them the VLC facilitators, help with the content on how to use on a device. That's all going to be bond funding for the initial phase of this program.
And do you see those folks eventually phasing out? Because I don't know that we can ever afford them forever.
Right, and I think what we're going to see going forward is, as we learn through this initial rollout, is how much support do you need ongoing? So is it that each school may be picking up their own technical support hopefully as we continue to see California grow in revenues, schools may make that decision like, I want to keep a tech support person to help me. So the ratio would definitely change, and I think it would be a school choice on how much support they need going forward.
But initially it will be bond funded. Later on I can see that becoming a position at the school.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Item has been moved and seconded. Are there any abstentions? Are there any objections, board members? Any abstentions? Seeing none, so ordered. Go do great things. Welcome, team.